The void between stars was silent, but Eli Mercer never felt alone. He had traversed countless sectors, hauling rare ores, transporting refugees, and sometimes dealing in secrets too dangerous for most of humanity to touch. Yet nothing had prepared him for the transmission he intercepted on the outskirts of the Klyra Expanse. It was desperate, fragile, personal. Please help us. Have no one else. Am alone. Let me give you strong children. The voice belonged to a being Eli could not identify at first, and it was not merely a distress call. It was a plea. Not for himself or herself, but for a future. Eli traced the transmission to a derelict orbital station, drifting near a gas giant with violent storms that made navigation treacherous. The station's hull was scorched and pitted from past skirmishes, the telltale signs of battles long concluded and enemies long gone. And yet somewhere inside a life endured. He docked cautiously, scanning for life forms. The station's life support systems were failing. Environmental readings spiked unpredictably. And then he saw her. A humanoid figure with skin that shimmered like molten copper under the station's dim emergency lights. Her eyes, wide, intelligent and fearful, locked onto his through the viewport before the doors even opened. She was alone, vulnerable, and her plea had been genuine. Her name, she told him once he breached the inner chamber, was Lysera. She was of a species Eli had never encountered before. The Thalirians, known for their long lifespans, psionic abilities, and unusually resilient biology. In her desperation, she revealed a truth that shocked him. She had been captured by a militant faction within her own species. They intended to experiment on her, to manipulate her genetics, and to destroy her will entirely. They believe humans are strong, she confessed, her voice trembling. If a human were to mate with me, the offspring would inherit strength unmatched in my species. They fear it. That is why I was left to die. Eli felt a knot in his stomach. He had faced hostile species, deadly star systems, and mercenary factions. But this was entirely different. This was a being pleading not merely for survival, but for a future, a legacy that he could influence. Lysera's situation was precarious. Her captivity had left her weak, and the station's failing life support accelerated the danger. Eli moved quickly, improvising repairs from scavenged components and rerouting energy conduits to stabilize oxygen circulation. Every moment mattered. "You're not dying today," he told her, his voice firm but calm. "I don't care who wants you gone. I'm getting you out of here." 4 hours. He worked while Lysera whispered advice on the station's alien systems. Her psionic abilities were faint, her body weakened, but she could sense energy flows in the conduits, guiding him. Eli adapted quickly, merging human ingenuity with her subtle guidance, and by dawn, the station's core stabilized. Their relief was short-lived. Outside the station, a patrol of Thalirian hunters had tracked the distress signal. They had orders. Ensure Lysera never left alive. The approaching ships were sleek, heavily armed, and moving faster than any human vessel Eli had ever encountered. "Don't underestimate them," Lysera warned, her voice soft but tense. "They know every trick I could use and more." Eli's grin was grim. "Good. Then we improvise." He piloted his ship through the gas giant's storms, weaving through electrical storms and gravity pockets. Lysera's psionic energy augmented his navigation, subtly manipulating the storm's energy fields to mask their signature. They emerged battered but intact, the hunters left far behind. Once they were safe in deep space, Lysera turned to him, her eyes filled with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "You saved me," she said simply. "You didn't hesitate." "Why?" Eli shrugged. "Because someone had to. Because you were asking for a future, and humans. We don't turn away from things that matter. Lysera's expression softened, almost human in its nuance. A future, she whispered, her thoughts drifting toward possibilities she hadn't dared imagine. Perhaps I can help your species in return. She shared knowledge of Thalirian biology, their advanced genetic engineering, and the psionic enhancements her people had perfected over millennia. Every revelation astonished him, and everyone carried potential not just for survival, but for reshaping human understanding of genetics and psionics. Over the next weeks, Eli and Lysera traveled through frontier sectors, hiding from Thalirian patrols while gathering resources. Their relationship was unusual, born from necessity but gradually evolving into something more profound. Trust, respect, and mutual dependence formed bonds that transcended species and biology. Lysera confided in him her deepest fear. If she were returned, her captors would experiment with her body and destroy any hope of her genetic legacy. I was chosen for my strength, she explained. But I cannot survive alone. Eli understood. Humans were not physically the strongest species in the galaxy, but they endured, adapted, and thrived in circumstances that would destroy others. He knew his choice mattered. By protecting her, he could give not just Lysera, but potentially future generations of Thalirians and humans, a chance to evolve beyond the limitations of either species. The moment came unexpectedly. While docked at a neutral outpost, a faction of Thalirian hunters tracked them down. They were relentless, sophisticated, and armed with experimental energy weapons designed to incapacitate humans. Eli realized then that Lysera's survival, and the future she represented, depended entirely on his actions. He devised a bold plan. Instead of confronting the hunters directly, he would lure them into a gravity well of a nearby dwarf star, using Lysera's psionic energy to manipulate the field subtly. It was dangerous. One miscalculation could destroy them both. The plan worked, though barely. As the hunters were trapped and overwhelmed by gravitational and psionic distortions, Eli piloted the ship away, heart pounding. Lysera's hand found his. You risked everything for me, she whispered. Someone had to, he replied. Because someone's future depended on it. Weeks later, in a secure sector far from Thalirian reach, Eli and Lysera made a difficult choice. She could use her psionic and genetic knowledge to ensure humanity's future was stronger and healthier, but it required trust and partnership. They forged an agreement, an interspecies alliance that would allow humans to inherit the genetic resilience and adaptability of the Thalirians, while ensuring her people's legacy continued safely. Lysera looked at him with profound gratitude. You didn't just save me, she said. You saved hope. Eli smiled, thinking of all the humans who had been dismissed as weak or fragile in the galaxy's larger schemes. Humans, we survive. And sometimes that's enough to change everything. Together they prepared for a new journey, not one of desperation but of opportunity. Lysera's knowledge and Eli's human ingenuity created a partnership that could challenge empires, protect civilizations, and give life a future that no one had imagined. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, politics, and ancient rivalries. But humanity had something few species possessed: audacity, empathy, and an unyielding will to act when it mattered most. Lysera's plea had been answered. The future, uncertain and sprawling, was now shared between a human and an alien, an alliance born from desperation, survival, and hope. And in that alliance, a lesson for the galaxy was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. They might not have the raw power of an alien species, but they had the courage, ingenuity, and heart to survive. And sometimes that was enough to shape the destiny of worlds.